Welcome to Empowered by Iron, hosted by Dr. Kristen Lander from Fiercely Fueled Nutrition Coaching and Mary Morton from M&M Coaching, remote coaching for the novice athlete. Together, we are Empowered by Iron. Hey guys, so welcome to our Part 2B of our Your First Weightlifting Meet series. Last week we talked about powerlifting and we were able to take you through an entire meet of powerlifting. And this time we're going to take you through weightlifting. It's a little bit more technical, but it's just as fun. So, Kristen, go ahead, take it away.
All right, so just like in powerlifting, when you show up for meet day, so we're talking meet day here, you need to know what your openers are when you show up for your weigh-in, and you need to know what those openers are in kilograms, not in pounds. So if you don't know, do the conversion, and then if you're like me, you're going to write it on your hand, because I didn't even know kilos my first weightlifting meet. Okay, so be prepared for that. You're weighing in and they're going to say, what are your openers? You need to know what your first snatch is and what your first clean and jerk is. And we can talk a little bit about how to know what those openers should be. I think in the powerlifting episode, Mary had some really specific numbers on how to figure out what your opener is. And I don't know if that exists for weightlifting, or if it does, I don't know about it. So basically, you just want to hit a number that you know that you can hit, like something that you know on any given day, you're going to walk into the gym and you're going to hit that number. Because you get 3 attempts at each lift. So you want to do something that you can easily do for the first one, because if you miss your first attempt, it's really easy to get in your head and get freaked out. So we don't want that to happen. So pick something that's like moderately heavy. And then you can go up. Usually people make anywhere between 1 and 4 kilo jumps. I personally like around 3. 4 sometimes feels like a lot. 3 feels better. And so, most people go into a meet with a number that they want to hit for their third attempt, or what they want their total to be, and work backwards from there. But I'm not even sure for your first meet if that should matter. I kind of think you should just go in and do what you can do. The first meet that I actually had a coach for, which was my third meet, I didn't even come close to hitting a PR, because my coach just really wanted me to feel comfortable with the process. Even though I had competed before, I really had no idea what I was doing. So, so hit something that you can know you can easily hit.
And that's, you can hit on a good day and a bad day, right? Because there are numbers that I can hit when things are going super well that I cannot hit if I'm like having a shitty day. But there are definitely numbers that I can hit every single time, whether it's a good day or a bad day.
Yeah, absolutely. However, I have had days in the gym where I was like, oh my God, this is supposed to be my opener and I can't do it. But that's usually just during the hard training cycle. So if you're feeling good, you should be pretty far off your 1 rep max. Because if you think about it, say you're going to make 4 kilo jumps, which is what a lot of people do, so you can work backwards. That's going to be, at least 20 pounds off of your 1 rep max, right? Or your best, right? Am I doing the math right on that?
Yeah, about 2.2.
Yeah. And also, if you're not used to lifting in pounds, just know, or if you're not used to lifting in kilos, know that everything in this meet is going to be in kilograms. That's the way that weightlifting works. And so just multiply everything by 2.2 and you'll be fine. Bring a calculator if you need to.
That's not something I mentioned in the powerlifting, but everything in powerlifting is in kilos as well, except whenever you go pick your attempts, they have all of the conversions there. You just have to be like, oh, well, I want to take my next jump will be 10 pounds. Okay, what's 250? Oh, okay, it's X in kilos or whatever. And then that's what you do.
Oh, see, that's very smart. They don't do that in weightlifting,
No.
and I was actually really surprised that powerlifting meet that I went to with you. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, everything's in kilos. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, yeah, weightlifting, everything's in kilos. All right, so at your weigh-in, you're going to tell them your openers. Your weigh-in is always 2 hours before your session. So if you're lifting at 9 in the morning, your weigh-in's going to be at 7, and you have a full hour to weigh in. But I would recommend getting there, getting in line, getting weighed in, and if there's any problems, you have a little bit of time to try to sweat out a little bit of weight.
But
But
again, this is
again,
your first meet, so
yep,
hopefully you're sitting like right in between your class, or even if you're sitting at the end of your class, hopefully you're still under and maybe just eat less the night before, right?
that's right. Yeah, we talked about this before. I don't recommend cutting weight for your first meet because there's so many other things you're going to be nervous about. You don't want to be nervous about, are you going to make weight? Like that should be the least of your worries, because let's be real, like majority of people in their first meet are not qualifying for nationals or something like the AO or something like that. I mean, it does happen, but for majority of people, that's not what the meet is for. And so, like, let's not be worried about what your weight is on the scale, and let's really not even be super worried about what your weight is on the bar. Let's just like get the experience of doing the meet. All right, so the next thing is, what are you going to weigh in? And most people will weigh in their underwear and bra or whatever they're wearing under their singlet. You could wear athletic shorts if you want to, if you're not worried about weight. If you're cutting it really close, you can get naked if you need to be. You're in a closed room with just the official. Usually, I have been to a few local meets where they were a little loose and it was kind of an open room. However, if someone needed to get undressed to a level that they didn't feel comfortable with people being around, they had other options available. So, um, weigh-ins are really simple. You just um, weigh in and go eat some food.
Weigh
So
in and
the
then like immediately go eat some food because at that point you're probably pretty hungry. Unless you're the fortunate few who could eat before they weigh in.
right, right. So you've got 2 hours. If you weighed in exactly at your weigh-in time, you've got 2 hours. If weigh-in took a little bit of time, you maybe only have an hour, hour and a half. So you've got to have some food there with you ready to eat. And I recommend a little bit of protein, some slower digesting carbs. So my go-to is always oatmeal with egg whites in it. And then between the snatch and the clean and jerk, I snack on some candy, like Sour Patch Kids. But you want a mix of slow digesting carbs and like quick sugar to get you through, and then also hydrate. So drink a bunch of water or Gatorade or Pedialyte. So make sure you're staying really well hydrated.
Drink the water. Don't underestimate drinking the water because you'll feel like shit if you don't.
Yeah, you'll perform real poorly if you don't. And it's most people will not have much to drink or eat before they go weigh in. So if you're weighing in first thing in the morning and you haven't had anything to drink for maybe 12 or 16 hours, your body's going to be pretty dehydrated. So get the fluids in. All right, so the next thing is, what are you going to wear? Majority of meats, even if they're small local meats, you will have to wear a one-piece singlet. It doesn't have to have legs, but it has to be a singlet. Um, I have seen some meets where they allow people to just wear tight-fitting shorts and shirt, but don't count on it. If in doubt, you can email the meet director, but majority of meets, you've got to wear a singlet.
Yeah, I don't think I've been to a meet, powerlifting or weightlifting, where a non singlet attire was allowed.
Yeah,
So just assume that you did or that you need it. So make the investment. It's like, I don't know, depending on what kind you get. Actually, I don't know how much it costs. This would be a great time to tell you to go check out Snore Life singlets made by wonderful Courtney Batchelor. She
Absolutely.
makes custom singlets, and they're only $80 if you get the legless and 100 if you get legs. So go check her out on Instagram.
You
Anyway,
just you just got a really cool one and it's beautiful.
it's so amazing. Oh,
I bought my first singlet off Amazon for like $20. And let me tell you, it was nothing cute, but it got the job done. And I didn't want to spend a lot of money on my first meet because I just didn't know if I was even going to like it. So um, it worked fine. Make sure it's not see-through, or if it is, wear some shorts under.
yeah, be
So,
careful
uh,
about that. Make sure no one can see through your singlet.
right. Yeah, so that's another thing is what to wear under it. I usually wear like boy shorts under my singlet. It just kind of holds everything in, and just in case anything's a little see-through, you just can't see anything.
I go commando, but that's because I have darker colored singlets. I've always had darker colored singlets. Okay, anyway,
Awesome. Okay.
so weigh in,
So,
eat, singlet. Now what?
yep, and go ahead.
Weigh in, eat, singlet, and then what?
Well, talking a little bit more about what to wear or what's allowed. At a weightlifting meet, you are allowed to wear a belt. You're allowed to wear a lifting belt if you need it. You're allowed knee wraps or sleeves. You're allowed wrist wraps. You're allowed thumb tape. The only thing, and honestly, I think this rule might have been changed, but I didn't pay attention because it never affected me. There was a rule that you couldn't have anything covering your elbow, but I think that recently changed. So check the rule book. We're going to put a link to it in the show notes, where you can download the IWF rule book. And then obviously you're going to want weightlifting shoes. And then bring long sleeve pants and a long shirt to wear over your singlet in case the warm up area is cold. I lifted in Puerto Rico in June, and the air conditioning in the warm up area was cranked up so cold. I'm telling you, I think it was under 50 degrees and it was like blowing on us. It was so cold. Was not ideal at all.
My first meet, we lifted it. It was 28 in the building, and it stayed about
8 degrees.
28 the whole day. It was
It was 20
cold.
degrees in the building.
Yeah, it was cold. It was
Oh my
horrible.
goodness. That was in Texas, right?
Yeah, but it was also in December, so that I don't know about Texas weather.
Okay, so we've talked about the openers, we've talked about your weigh-in, we've talked about your meals, and we've talked about your attire. Let's talk about how the actual meet's going to go down. We're actually going to have a guest on at the end who's going to really simply explain the process of warming up and counting attempts because it can get a little bit complex. And I'm not good at taking complex issues and making them simple, at least not in the world of weightlifting, but we have someone who is. So let's talk first about just how the meet's going to go. So if you're in the first session, you can just go over and you'll see where the warm-up platforms are, and you can just get started stretching and lifting, doing some mobility, doing some work with the bar. If you're not in the first session and there's someone else lifting and warming up in that area, just wait until they're done. So usually as clean and jerk is starting to wrap up, you can go and there will be a platform available. And do not be surprised. You're probably going to have to share a platform with someone else. That this happens all the time. Everyone's used to it. It's no big deal. Don't be freaked out if someone asks if they can share a warm-up platform with you. In fact, if they have a coach that's with them, their coach might offer to count your attempts for you and help you warm up. So that's an added bonus. That's what wound up happening to me at my first two meets, and it was a big help. But if that doesn't happen, don't worry about it because we got you covered. So grab a platform, start doing some work. They will do introductions 10 minutes prior to when the session is going to start. So they're going to call everyone out in that session onto the platform. They're going to introduce you, and then you've got 10 minutes to finish warm-ups. At this point, you're going to want to figure out where the official table is. You're going to see all of the coaches surrounding this table. That's where they lay out the cards that have the lifter's name and their opening attempts on them. And you're welcome to go over and look at it. It's not a secret. Everyone should be looking at this and figuring out where in the lineup you're going to be. So if your opening attempt is a lot lower than everyone else's, you're going to be the first lifter, and you might want to start doing some warm-ups prior to introductions. So you can just kind of gauge that and see where you should be. Snatch is the first movement, and clean and jerk is the second movement. You're going to have a 10-minute break in between those two. The whole meet's going to last about 2 hours per session. They try to make it be around that. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's a little more, depending on if there's a lot of tech stops or if something happens. So the other thing to know is that the weight on the bar only goes up. And so that means that if you're not taking the same jumps as someone else, you're not always following the same person. So don't pay attention to who you followed the first time. Listen for the announcers, because they're going to say someone's in the hole, someone's on deck, and then they're going to say who's up to lift. And when they call your name, you're going to have 1 minute to get to the platform and attempt the lift. That doesn't mean that the lift has to be performed within a minute. It means that you have to get to the barbell and get it off the floor within a minute. So if you make your first pull at 58 seconds, you're fine. You don't have to complete the lift then in like 2 seconds. All right, so after you make the lift, hopefully it's successful, hold it overhead until you hear either a down buzzer or the ref that's right in front of you gives you a down command. You have to wait for that command or it's a no lift. And then after that, you're going to get judged based on, did you do the lift appropriately or not? And then that's where you're going to get 1, 2, or hopefully 3 white lights, or 0. That happens too. So you're either going to get white lights or red lights. You need at least 2 white lights for it to be a good lift. And the common reasons for not getting at least 2 white lights are, number one, it was a failed attempt. You didn't make the lift. But there are plenty of times where you thought that you made the lift and you turn around and you look and you got like 2 red lights or 3 red lights. And you're like, what happened? This is where you need to read your rule book. But the most common reason for it is a press out of the elbows. So you do your snatch or your jerk and you get a little wobble in the elbow or a little bend, or you catch it with bent arms and then straighten it. That's a no lift. A lot of people don't know this because if they're coming from the CrossFit world, press outs are allowed in CrossFit. And so I have seen many a disappointed CrossFitter at meets not understanding why they're getting red lights when they're catching it with bent arms and then straightening. So got to catch with locked out arms.
And that's in the snatch and the clean and jerk, right?
So in the snatch and the jerk. Yep. Have to. Reasons that you could get called on a clean. I actually had this happen and I had no idea that this was a rule. I caught it. It was the ugliest clean in the world. I caught it really low on my chest and I rolled it up onto my shoulders. That's a no. You can't do that. I had no idea because
I didn't know that.
I obviously didn't read the rule book. There's a lot of rules in there. The other thing is if like part of your body touches the platform other than your feet. So like if you drop a knee real quick and then come back up, you can't do that. If your knee hits the platform in the catch of the jerk, that doesn't count.
Or if you're super mobile and your butt touches the ground in the snatch.
Like the was the Chinese lifter in the
Yes.
Olympics? Everyone was like, did her
Yeah.
butt touch? Because it looked like it,
It looked like it totally did.
right? Um, yeah, you can't do that. And then the other thing is, like in the snatch, if obviously, like if the barbell hits your head, we've all had this happen, right? Where we snatch and like it gets a little close to our head, or we have bent arms or whatever. If it touches any part of your body, be it past your hips, that's a no lift. And if you look at the rule book, they actually consider your hair part of your body, so your hair can't touch the barbell.
That seems kind of sexist.
Well, I don't know. A guy could have like super. I'm imagining like a guy with like super spiky hair and short arms, and it's like
The
touching.
rebel lifter.
Um, and then the other thing is when you are lowering when you're after you've completed the lift and you've gotten the down signal, it's not over. You could still lose this lift if you spike the bar. So do not throw the bar to the ground. You have to follow it past your shoulders and then you can let go of it. But you can't like deliberately throw the bar. Um, and obviously, you have to stay on the platform. The platforms are really big, but sometimes if you catch one out in front and you like run off into the judges, that's a no lift. So you've got to keep your feet on the platform, and you've got to line your feet up after you have successfully made the lift. And if you're sitting there waiting for them to give you the down signal and they're not giving it to you, maybe your left leg is way out in front and your right leg is behind and you look like you're in a jerk and you never recovered from it. So you've got to recover and get your feet parallel. So those are the basic rules that you need to know to have a successful lift. Um, if you miss an attempt, so say you go out there and you hit your opener and you were like, well, or rather didn't hit your opener, so you attempted your opener and you missed it. You can increase the weight for your second attempt if you choose to. This is pretty common practice in experienced lifters who are like they know why they missed it. They were just nervous or they missed it for some stupid reason or whatever. And they'll go up a couple kilos. I don't recommend that from your first meet.
No.
Just get that one. If you do not go over to the officials table immediately following your lift, they are going to just automatically increase your next attempt by 1 kilo. So if you want to repeat that weight, you've got to make sure that they know right away that you're repeating that weight. And then if you're going up by more than 1 kilo, go and tell them what you're going up to. Um, Again, I mentioned you can go up in 1 kilo increments. And usually, I mean, I have seen people make higher than 4 kilo jumps, but that's a really big jump. I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you're that close to your max and you're brand new to the sport. Um, so then let's say you made the lift or you didn't make the lift, whichever happens. Um, if there's no one else lifting between those weights that you just lifted in your next attempt, that means you're following yourself and they'll give you a 2 minute rest, whereas it's usually 1 minute between lifters. They're going to give you 2 minutes. The exception to this is if so say I lifted and then I told them my next one, and then Mary's the next lifter, and then Mary goes, "Oh wait, just kidding. I'm gonna make a weight change." I only get 1 minute rest. I have to go out and be the next lifter. So this is something sneaky that happens. Don't worry yourself too much about it. Just listen for when they call your name and go out there when they call your name. Don't think about the time. Um, this brings us to the interesting topic of weight changes, though. Um, you can change your next attempt, your weight, as long as your minute on the platform is not up. So anytime from when you declare that attempt to when you're called up to the platform, you can make a weight change. So you can go up. I made a 2 kilo jump and you're like, actually, I feel really good. Let's go up 3 kilos. Or If you are wanting to like go down, you're like, ooh, I actually think I overestimated what I'm capable of. I said I want a 5 kilo jump, but I'm just kidding. I want three. As long as they haven't called your name out to the platform, you can go down. You can, or as long as they haven't loaded that weight on the bar. So, as long as no one else has attempted that weight yet, you can say, just kidding, I'm gonna lift now. All
That
right.
that's
So,
really complicated.
it's really complicated. I know it sounds super complex. It actually is pretty complicated, but don't let that deter you from actually doing a meet, because a lot of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes is going to be happening with coaches and officials, and you're maybe not going to know so much about it, but it's important to know that if you thought you had a 2 minute rest and suddenly they tell you you have a 1 minute rest, just don't question it. Just go out there and you'll figure it out. You'll figure out why later. Some of this stuff isn't important, but I don't want you to be freaked out when things happen and people start making weight changes and it gets chaotic and you're not sure what's going on. Just go out there when they tell you to go out there and you'll be fine. Um, so that leads me to my next point, is that in order to post a total, you've got to have one successful snatch and one successful clean and jerk. If you failed all three of your snatch attempts, you can move on to the clean and jerk section, but you're just going to be lifting exhibition at that point. But I say, if that does happen, if you bomb out like that, just go on and lift, because you're going to get good experience out of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So after you finish your three snatches, go put some warm clothes on, eat a light snack if you need to, wait for everyone to finish snatches, and then there's going to be 10-minute break. Um, and then clean and jerk will start, and then you're going to start your warm-up process all over again.
Yeah.
So I know that we just made that, or rather, I made that a little bit confusing, but we have a guest here who is going to help break down the whole warming up, counting attempts, because one of the things that you want to make sure is that you don't take too many attempts in the warm up room, but you also want to make sure that you've warmed up enough that you're not making this huge jump that you had two attempts and suddenly you have to go out and do an almost max lift. So it's a little bit of a complex topic, and so we've got the one person that I know that can take something complex and make it the most simple thing in the world is my coach, Seán Brown. He's here to explain this to us. So Seán is the current 85 kilo Irish national champion and record holder. He's ranked ninth in the US and is a European and World Championship qualifier for 2017. So he's an amazing lifter, but beyond that, he's an amazing coach, and he can take these really complex things and make them so simple you think, why didn't I think of that?
All right. Hey, everyone. So we have Seán Brown on. He's going to explain to you guys a little bit on how to count your attempts. So, Seán, can you break it down as simply as you can? If someone is alone and their first weightlifting meet, how do they count their attempts the simplest way so they're ready to lift when it's time for them to lift?
Okay, so thanks, Mary. Glad to be on the podcast. So let's just make an example of a simple meet. Say we have 10 lifters in a session. I'm going to open up at 100 kilos, and there'll be 10 cards on the table, and everyone else will have their opening attempts on it. So, for example, say there's 5 lifters out of the 10 who have lighter opening attempts than me. So I'm opening 100, and say 3 out of the 5 lifters, they're opening at 75 kilos or less. One can make the assumption that they're not going to make a 15 kilo increase on their snatch to get to 100 kilos. Most people make increases are between 10 to 12 max on snatches usually. So you could play it safe that those 3 people are definitely going to do 3 snatches before it even gets to you. So that's 9 attempts. And then let's say, for example, the other 2 people, so again, there's 5 definitely going to be ahead of you. The other 2 people, maybe they're opening at 85 or 90. So you could probably have a good idea that they're going to lift at least 1, possibly 2. So therefore, you could add on 4 to your original 9, and there's your 13 lifts that you potentially have. So that's based off the cards from the start of the session. So you go up to the cards if you have a coach or if you're on your own, and you will basically guesstimate how many lifts are going to be on the platform before you. So again, this is a scenario: 10 lifters. I know for certain that 5 of these guys are lifting less than me to open with, and now I'm trying to kind of calculate how many I have. So I've kind of guesstimated there's going to be 13 lifts. So that's how many I have to watch, or how many lifts are going to be on the platform before I'm up.
Okay, so that
Does that make
means...
sense?
Yeah, so that means that before you take your first attempt at 100 kilos, you potentially have 13 lifts before you in which you can take that time to get yourself warmed up and ready to go.
Exactly. So for example, say my warm up is going to be, I'm going to do 60, 70, 80, 90, 95. So that's 5 warm up attempts, and I'm going to hit 100 for the first time on the platform.
Right.
So if I've got 13 lifts, theoretically, I want to do 5 warm up lifts in the back. Then I roughly have 2 lifts on the platform for every warm up lift I have to do. So if you're on your own, you got to make sure you can see the platform. So every time 2 lifters complete a lift on the main platform, you want to be doing one of your warm-up weights. And that's how you kind of count yourself. So I'm kind of leaving myself 3 short. Obviously 2 by 5 is 10. We kind of guesstimated we had 13. So I want to do 60, 70, 80, 90, 95 every 2. So that's 10 lifts. So when 10 lifts are gone, I've just the 10th lift on the platform is finished. I just hit 95 in the back. I am ready to go with 3 lifts left before I'm up, which is usually a good kind of a gauge for most people. I like to leave my lifters at least 2 to 3 lifts out, and they're ready. So they're not kind of rushing and panicking, and we're not kind of trying to cram in any last minute warm-ups. We can sit down, have a little drink, watch a couple of lifts, and then we know we're up.
I just got a huge respect for coaches.
Sorry?
I just got a huge respect more for my coaches, having to count all that.
It's quite difficult. It's like it's a chess game, and that scenario is very simple scenario, and that is, we're assuming, which never happens, that nobody changes any of their weights. So from the start, when we count our original 13 numbers, our 13 warm-ups, we're assuming that nobody sneaks up and changes their opener, which will then mess up our whole counting system, and we'll have to go and recount the whole thing again, and we might have more, we might have less, and then it's kind of like, oh shit, what's going on?
So, but basically they don't need to worry about that, because if they're warmed up early, they can just rest a little bit, and then if they're feeling like, oh, I think I'm a ways out, they can, maybe take another attempt at the same weight and then sit down for a little bit and just wait for their name to be called, right?
Yes, so there's no harm in hitting the same weight, especially on your lighter warm-ups. It's no harm in hitting the same weight twice at least. And I usually get some of my lifters to hit, say for example, we'll go back to that scenario, 60, 70, 80, 90, 95. If I know we've got a little bit of weight, there's going to be more time, I might make my lifter hit 60 twice and then might hit 70 twice. So again, I'll add in more time we can use in the warm.
Awesome.
Cool. And so then your recommendation is that in between their warm-up attempts, what should they be doing?
Sitting down.
Just
right,
chilling.
So you're not running around, you're not...
No, you sit down and you chill. If you like music, put some music in, have your drink beside you, and just relax. You shouldn't worry about running around. If you need to go to the toilet, go to the toilet, but you shouldn't be trying to run around or doing jumping jacks or anything extra. You should have done all your kind of flexibility, mobility stuff before the session even starts. You're going to get there early. Usually the competition, you get there 2 hours early, you weigh in, you hang around. When you're about 30 minutes, 35 minutes out from the start, you should be getting mobilized, getting yourself warmed up in your singlet, things like that. So when it's time for the session to start and you do the parade, which is 10 minutes before the session starts, you're fully ready to rock and roll. You've got your shoes on, your boots on, everything's ready to go, and you don't have to worry about trying to find your knee sleeves or some shit like that.
So then, let's talk about. So these are people. It's their first meet. It's likely that they might be the first lifter, if they're
Absolutely.
So what do they? When they same recommendation, just start 30 minutes before the session and hit what you can on the platform.
So if these people say they're brand new to weightlifting, first meet, their openers are relatively light. The cards should be on the table. For people who don't know what cards are basically everyone's names are on them and your opening attempts. So there's snatch, clean and jerk, and then there's spaces for the second and third attempt for your coaches or for yourself to write them in after you make your attempts on the platform. So the cards should be laid out. They will usually be in order, going from lightest to the heaviest, and based on that, you can see where you're going to be. If you know you're going to be first or second, then you should be in your stuff. You should be starting to warm up, empty barbell, doing your mobility, 30 minutes, 40 minutes out. And then before the parade, so the parade is 10 minutes before, where they call everyone on and they announce all your clubs and your name and all that, and give you a nice wave to the crowd if there's anyone there. Usually local meets have nobody there, but if there's anyone there, you wave to them. And then you want to be already at least 2 or 3 warm-up sets started. So, for example, we'll go back to, this is a really competitive meet, and 100 kilos is a shit opener, and you still want to do 60, 70, 80, 90, 95. If I'm first up, I want to have 60 and 70 already lifted before the parade. So when I come back, I know I have 10 minutes. I can do 80, 90, 95. I could go every 3 minutes on that warm-up because I know I have 10 minutes. So I'll do, as soon as I come back, I'll do 80. I'll wait for 3 minutes. Then I'll do 90. I'll wait for 3 minutes. Then I'll do 95. And then I have 1 minute. And then it's me. And I get 100 on the platform.
Cool. Okay.
That would be a scenario.
Okay. And then I have one last question, and I think this might be a preference for different coaches. I've seen a couple different things happen, but your preference is after your lifter hits their opener, they don't take any more warm-up attempts unless there's some crazy tech stop and it's like a half-hour gap in between, right?
Yeah. So usually once my lifter starts to lift, I don't usually get them to do anything in the back. We just sit down, we wait for our next call, and then we're up. Unless there's like a huge, like that, you said, like a technical stop, or the session stops for more than like 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, then I'm not really too worried about it because the adrenaline's pumping. I might get my lifter to do a couple of squat jumps just to make sure the legs are still firing, but usually nothing in relation to actually snatching or clean jerking in the back. I just find that sometimes it just wears them out, or if they potentially do a bad lift in the back, then psychologically that might wreck with their head, and then they feel like they got to go back out, and their attempt might be heavier, and they're like, oh my god, I just missed 75 in the back, and I got to try and go out here and do 80. And I just feel like there's less positives to it than some people think.
Okay, cool. Well, I think you made that sound really simple.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Seán, where can our listeners find you?
Sorry?
Where can our listeners find you?
You can find me on Facebook, HD Barbell Club. Follow us on Instagram at HD Barbell Club. We got on our website, www.hdbarbellclub.com. We got loads of content on our website, free videos, tutorials, demo videos. We're based in Atlanta, Georgia, just in Chambly. We don't charge any drop-ins for people, so if you're in the area, you want to weightlift, we got 20 bars, loads of kilos, got 2,000 square foot facility. Everyone's welcome if you're a weightlifter or a CrossFitter. That's where you'd find me. I'm here 6 days a week.
And you do remote coaching too, right?
I do, yes. So I manage and I head coach and manager at HC Barbell Club, and I'm also head coach at CrossFit HD. We're in the same building, and I do remote programming specific for people one-on-one. So I work with athletes all over the world. I've got some in Australia, some in England, UK, and I work with those people on their weightlifting. I also do CrossFit specific stuff too, but more weightlifting, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks for breaking that down for us, Seán. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Right. Anytime. Glad I could help.
All right.
Well, do you have any questions, Mary?
No, I think that's it. I think we're good. That was really good, Seán.
One more thing. We're running a meet here in April 15th, the HD Classic. It's our second year to run it. It's a last chance qualifier for anyone trying to qualify for senior nationals. We're going to have 2 national level judges here. So if anyone's looking to qualify for nationals, here's where you got to be, because we have all the judges and we have all the space. Limited amount of spaces. I've capped it to 50 because we only have one platform running at the time. So got to get signed up. You can find that on our website, hdbarberclub.com. We also have an event, HD Classic. You can find it on Facebook if you're interested in that. Or if you want to do it as your first meet, friendly community, friendly space, I'll look after you. And come along.
Absolutely. Mary and I are going to be at that meet. So
great.
You guys can come see us as well. And I can vouch, because HD is my team. They're probably some of the most welcoming people I've ever met in my life. So if you want to do a meet in the Atlanta area, highly recommend it.
All right.
All right, cool.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Seán. I really appreciate it. So I know what we just told you guys today sounds really complicated and maybe makes you rethink this idea of doing a meet, but don't worry. I didn't know all of the things we just told you guys. I literally didn't know before my first meet. Like, I just knew I wanted to do a meet. I found a meet. I showed up. I mean, I barely had trained for it. I showed up. I knew I needed a singlet, and like, that's it. I knew nothing else. And luckily there was someone super nice who recognized immediately it was my first meet. He was coaching another athlete, and he said, hey, you sit when I tell you to sit, and you lift when I tell you to lift, and don't worry about anything else. And the one amazing thing about the strength community in general is that there's always people to help. There are always people around that want you to have a good experience and want to help. So we wanted to tell you all this so you could go into a meet and be prepared, but it's totally okay to show up to a meet completely unprepared and ask someone like, hey, this is my first meet. Is there anyone that could maybe help me? And I guarantee someone will help you. I guarantee if that person can't help you, they will find someone that can help you. And don't be afraid to ask.
Yep.
So just go out there, have a good time. If you decide you love it, which is what happened to me, I immediately found a coach so I didn't have to experience this issue again. And I've never looked back. And now meets are way easier.
They're so much easier with a coach.
It is. But you don't need one. So go out there.
You don't need one for your first meet. So just sign up and have at it.
That's right. Get out there and have fun.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you next time. If you like what you heard today, please help us connect with other female badasses. We would love if you would leave us a review on iTunes. Tell your friends about us. Visit our website, which is empoweredbyiron.com. You can find each of us on Instagram. Mary is at MaryMo_92, and Kristen is at Kristen with an I, Lander. Future topics will include nutrition, programming and training, mental health, and just general female badassery. Yeah, so let us know what you want to hear. If you have any input, that'd be awesome. And guys, this is Empowered by Iron. We want it to be a resource and an outlet for women who are finding their confidence, their independence, and their strength through iron. So thank you for listening. Thank you for checking in. And until next time, I'm Mary.
I'm Kristen.
And this is Empowered by Iron.